Welcome back to our lectures on machine learning for image processing. So let us continue our discussion from the previous class. So any of you remember and can you quickly recap what we were discussing in the last classes? Just a couple of points you can mention, then I will start the discussion. Follow it up. Yeah, quick answers are welcome.
So we were looking at how to find key points or corner points in an image.
Very good. We are trying to find key points or corner points in an image. What is speciality about the key points or corner points? Why we say they are something special, or why we are trying to find them?
Such points are unique in the image and have maximum intensity change in all directions. Gradient.
Very good. Very good. Very good. So those points are unique in the sense that they have maximum intensity change in all directions. So they are distinct from the neighborhood. So it is easy to match them across different images, okay, or to recognize them in a given image. Okay, fine, very good. So now we will discuss further on it. So before we move on, so there was a question on, say if you are given a image, okay, and then in the image, if you want to find out where there are some triangular objects are there. Okay, so we said this is a binary image. Okay, let this be 100 cross 100. Okay, our objective is to find a triangular objects. Say the filter that is suggested to design for this is 3 cross 5. Okay, so we need a triangular object. So can anyone help me how the filter should be? So it's say if it is triangular object, the filter should look like a triangle. That's all. Okay, so this will detect triangular objects. So if you write even flipped version of it and so on, they're all correct. So even if you write inverted version. And now if I want to figure out a circular objects, okay, and the filter is 5 cross 5 now. Okay, what I need to find it out is circular objects, binary circular objects. Okay, so what should I do now? How should be the filter? Can one of you help me?
Similar logic. In the form of circle, we'll have ones.
Right. Okay, in the form of say around the circle, we have all ones. Okay, remaining all it is 0. Okay, so that's what is the filter. That's all. So this gives an intuition of say how to design filters. If you are looking for some particular shape of this kind, then the filter should also be of this shape. Okay, that's what I am trying to get from you. Okay, so let's move on now to the discussion on finding out the key points. So as we just discussed, key points are those who have maximum variation, intensity variation in all directions. See here, E of U comma V captures what? It captures the intensity variation when you shift by in any of the directions U and V. Okay, so you can see that U and V are shifts from the center pixel, and if you shift in any of the directions, what is the intensity change? Is being captured by E of U comma V. So for an ideal corner point or an ideal key point, okay, the minimum of this, say if I shift in any direction, I'm here. Okay, I can shift in any of the directions. So I can shift, I can shift like this. Okay, or I can shift like this, or I can shift like this, I can shift like this. So in any direction, if I shift, there should be some substantial intensity difference. Okay, so what is the optimization function, or how do I quantify it? See, if I have a edge point, it means that, okay, if I shift in this direction, okay, almost 0 change. So that means that if I see in across all directions, the does this point has the intensity change in all directions? I can't say that, because if I change in this direction, the intensity change is only 0. Okay, so if a point has to have a change in all directions, then this is the point where if I change in any of the directions, there is some intensity change. Okay, so to quantify it, what I will look is the minimum of the change across all u and v. I keep changing for all u and v. This u and v may be 1, 1. This u and v may be 1, 0. Okay, these are all the values of u and v, or the shift values. Okay, in general it is u and v. Okay, across all these u and v's, possible u and v's, not just in discrete space but also in continuous space, I would like to get minimum of that. That means I am trying to find out among all the class, I want to find out a weaker candidate. That weaker candidate itself, I say that it is strong. So what does it mean? Okay, you pick any candidate in the class, it is very strong. Okay, so that's what is the confidence I am trying to give at a corner point or a key point. Okay, you pick even the minimum variation across all possible u and v, and that has to be maximum at a given u and v. Then I say that it is a corner point or a key point. Okay, or a unique point to distinguish from the neighborhood. Okay, and this is the cost function being quantified. Okay, for finding out the particular point xy. Okay, for all u and v. Is this clear? Now the question is, once we quantify like this, see, there are two ways of finding out this. You can empirically substitute, okay, at each given x and y. That means at each pixel I have the image, assume that. Okay, so if I have a image, okay, what I will do, I will start from each pixel. Okay, I will start from here, then here, then here, then here. These are all x and y's. At each x and y, what I will do, okay, at any x and y, I will then pick out, okay, all my u and v's. These are all the possible u and v's. Okay, so what I will do at each x and y, okay, this is the x and y. Okay, at each x and y, I will figure out all, say, I will find out eu comma v, this is x and y. Okay, so it is, in fact, if you want to strictly put xy. Okay, the equation I am writing this shift with respect to different shifts at a given xy. So what I will do, I will substitute at a given xy all uv's and then see minimum of uv's, okay, at given xy. Okay, and then I will try to find across a neighborhood, okay, in a neighborhood region, whether that exy of uv, is it maximum or not. Okay, overall. Okay, so this I will see. Fine. So that can be done empirically. But if I want to do empirically, how many computations do I need? It is quite computationally intensive. Do you agree with me or not? At every location, okay, if I have 100 cross 100 image, okay, how many computations are needed? At every pixel, assume that there are 8 shifts, 8 possible shifts for UV. Okay, U and V can take, okay, 1 to 8. Okay, and then U and V can take 1 to 8, and X and Y can take 1 to 100. Okay, and then at each position of E, X, Y, UV, how many computations are needed? If I take a neighborhood, okay, in XY, the neighborhood consisting of 5 cross 5 pixels, 25 pixels I have to take. Okay, at each neighborhood, I have to do 25 computations. Because I take a patch here, okay, I take a shifted patch and then try to find out the difference. Okay, this is the patch, original patch, and this may be a shifted patch. And then I like to find the difference. Okay, and then weigh by WXY. So all this operation needs 25 into 100 cross 100 into 8 number of operations. So it's roughly 10 power 4, okay, 10 power 6, 10 power 7 operations. Okay, for a 100 cross 100 image to find out corner points. Do you understand or not? This is the number of computations that are required if I want to empirically find corner points or key points. Does anybody use this? If that is the case, just for finding this is the first step. After that, one has to use again, okay, matching. Because matching, once you find corner points, I say that, okay, so these are all the corner points. If I say that there are some corner points, then what we do with that corner points? You will be using those corner points and trying to match across different images. Yes or no? So this is one corner point, this is one corner point, okay, this is one corner point. If I say them, okay, then what you will do? You will try to use it to match or to find out an object or recognize an object and so on. Okay, so that this just for first step, no, like we can't spend this much computational power. So a researcher by name Harris have come up with a nice idea. So can I use mathematics here? Okay, to simplify this process, can I use some of the understanding? Okay, and the way I interpret. Okay, will it help me to do it quite effectively? The answer is yes. Okay, what he does is he expands this in Taylor series. Okay, so ix plus u comma y plus v. This can be expanded in two-dimensional Taylor series. So I think those who are familiar, I am just it is fine. Okay, otherwise I will quickly give a brief discussion of it here. Though I hope this is discussed in computer vision course. Okay, but I will just give you very brief discussion here. Okay, so if I want to, expand in Taylor series, can one of you help me? Those who can tell the Taylor series expansions quickly. I want to expand around x comma y. Okay, and u comma v is a simple shift. So x comma y can take 0 to 100, where u comma will take only -1 to 1. So it is a small number. Okay, I want to expand around it. So what should I do? I of x comma y plus u into dou I by dou x. Okay, plus v into where we compute dou I by dou x at I of x comma y only. Okay, and v into dou I by dou y, because y directional shift into dou y by I am gradient in y direction. Okay, at x comma y again. Okay, and this is first order Taylor series. I can keep expanding in second order and so on. I'm not bothered about it now. Okay, so uv into dou square I by dou x dou y. All those things will come. Okay, but I'm not right now bothered. 2 factorial, all those things. Okay, 2 factorial into. So now let us, this is the first order Taylor series. So this in simplified version, this is I of x comma y, whichever is the plus u into this I dou I by dou x, people prefer to write it as ix. Ix means gradient in x direction. V into iy, okay, gradient in y direction. That's what is this. This comes from this. Okay, and then you can simplify this. Okay, after simplifying, okay, you can, this you see, for example, see this term, if you see, what is this equation close to? Okay, close to which shape of the, say if I want to find locus of points having equal u and v. Okay, so this term close to what? Or if I have I will just try to write a equation. Those who have the answer can tell immediately. Okay, I am just bringing the discussion to get answer from you. If I write, assume that, okay, so u into something, okay, u into say whatever, ix, to simplify this, v into I whole square. If I write like this, okay, what equation do you think it closely relates to? U comma v. Okay, in u comma v, can have what kind of curve, or like what kind of polynomial is this? If you want to find out locus of points having equal u comma v values, okay, so what will it come to?
Circle.
Very good. Okay, it can come to circle. When it comes to circle?
When u and v are equal.
No, not necessary. U and v are variables. Okay, u and v keep varying, right? So I want to sketch in uv space. Okay, so this is in fact, okay, I should not keep a boundary here. Okay, it is, I am trying to sketch in uv space. This is u and v. Okay, across this I want to sketch what? E of u comma v. Okay, so which are constants here? Which are variables here? UV are variables. Okay, and these are constants. So now when it will become circle? This is very good point. So when it becomes circle?
When ix is equal to iy.
Right. If ix equal to iy, then it is circle. If ix is not equal to iy, then what may happen?
It will be an ellipse.
That's all. Okay, it can be an ellipse. Okay, it may be an ellipse. Okay, so it depends upon which is ix is higher, iy is higher, whatever. Okay, so and then ix, iy, all those things. Okay, so then let us see. So essentially, it look. See what am doing here? See this is center. Assume that this is where u comma v equal to 0. Assume that. Okay, so what essentially I'm doing here, for various values of u comma v, I'm trying to find out, okay, what I'm trying to find out, what is the like gradient, okay, in that for different u comma v. So assume that if I get this kind of curve versus, okay, if I get this kind of curve, assume that I got this kind of curve for u and v, okay, or I may get actually this kind of curve. Okay, or I may get this kind of curve. What is the difference? Can one of you tell? See, u comma v quantifies what? E comma v quantifies in our discussion. U comma v quantifies what? I need quick answers. Okay. It quantifies.
The shift in image patch.
Very good. U comma v quantifies shift in image patch. Okay, u comma v is shift. What is u comma v? I want to know what is u comma v. Is this correct? Variation of intensity at shift u comma v. Correct or not? Is this clear and correct or not?
Yes.
Okay, so I will keep going. So if you have doubt, you please ask me. Okay, and if you have a quick answer, you're quite welcome. Okay, that will enrich the class. Okay, fine. So now, what is the difference between this? What does this mean now? What does this mean now? Let us take these two cases. Okay, let this be case 1, let this be case 4. Okay, so what is the difference between them? What does this indicate? If I shift in any direction, what does it indicate? In any direction here, this is and g comma v equal to 0. Assume that. Okay, I am just plotting it here. Okay, so my axes are not aligned, but I think let me also align if in some cases. Oh, sorry. Okay, this is u comma v. uv. Okay, so this is again here u comma v. That means what I'm doing, for different shifts, I'm trying to quantify how much intensity variation am I getting. Okay, in that image. That's what I'm trying to see. And if I see that, what I got is this. Okay, so if for different u comma v's, what I got here is u equal to, assume that this is 1, just to have a simpler idea. Okay, if I keep shifting in any of the 8 directions here, okay, so I'm getting the equal values. What does it mean? And here also I'm getting equal values, but the values, equal values here, okay, are much lesser, okay, compared to equal values what I got here. Now, on the other hand, if in this case, what has happened, okay, if I move in any of the directions, okay, I'm not getting equal values. In one direction, I'm getting more value. In one direction, I'm getting lesser value. What does it mean? So in one direction, so I will, I need what kind of objects are there in my image? That's what I'm trying to ask. Yeah. So nobody knows. I think a Harris-Corner detector is being done in computer vision class. So at least those people should be able to tell. Okay. So what does this mean?
High variability in v direction, sir.
No?
There is high variability in v direction and less variability in u.
This one you are telling, case 3 you are telling?
Case 3, yeah.
Very good. So there is high variability in which direction?
In the direction of V.
Right. So in the direction of V, if I change even 1 pixel, okay. So, okay. Fine. So, yeah. See, in U direction, there is a high variability. That means what's happening is if I, okay. See, I'm putting equal values of V comma U comma V. Okay, so in the sense that I'm just the range for U comma V is fixed. But if I the quotients are different, so after that I have solved the equation for U comma V. Okay, then I got this answer. It means that what I have plotted is EU comma V. Okay, but the values I have considered for solving it, okay, is like UV values maybe 1 1 only I might have taken. Okay, but after solving, what I got is U comma V crossed like this. Okay, you got the point. So that means I am substituting U comma V is equal to -1 to 1. Okay, but the U comma V is an expression. Okay, polynomial. That polynomial, if I sketch, it is coming like this. Okay, so that means even for a single small shift of U, what I'm getting, the value of EU comma V is, okay, going to much higher value. Okay, that's what I'm trying to illustrate. So the variability is high in U direction, okay, and the variability is less in V direction. Is that clear?
Sir, but this contour that you drew is a contour where E of U comma V is constant, right?
Yeah, right.
So for a constant contour, like from origin, if we take the distance in V direction,
Correct.
in
V
lesser
then
distance, it
right.
is
Correct.
higher variation.
So if yeah, correct. So if this contour is considered as a constant U comma V values, then I think the interpretation is correct. So if I move slightly in this direction, there is a much variability for the values of EU comma V. Correct. So yeah, depending upon the way we interpret and draw this, okay, I can say that the variability is more here. If it is a contour of constant U comma V, then I think what you mentioned is correct. Okay, but I want to see for a small change, if these UV changes are same, but for U comma V, if I fix, okay, E is constant, both if I keep 1, for example, then I will see the values of U comma V. Okay, one case, in one case, it is equal to say U equal to 1 and V equal to 0, for example. Okay, the value may be say 20. And then in the other case where U equal to 0 and V equal to 1, in this case, U comma V is equal to 5. Okay, then there is a high variability in this direction. Okay, so in the way we sketch it, okay, based on that we can, or in the way we fix which one are we fixing, based on that the variability changes. Correct. So hope this is clear, right? So if I fix UV to be constants, and then I will put in the third dimension the values of U comma V. Okay, so here I may keep the third direction, assume that the values of U of V are fixed, but here magnitude is very high. Okay, or magnitude is low. Here magnitude is very high. Okay, so in that case, the interpretation is different. Okay, I say that in that case, variability is high in V. U. Okay, if that is the case. But if here, as I mentioned, it is a constant UV, then the variability is high here. Okay. So hope this is clear, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So and then compared to this case versus this case, what happens? This is again constant. So in this case, even if I small, like make a small variation, so if the values of magnitudes are same here and there, then here it is here, high variability here. Okay. So or if I fix the values and then U comma V values, okay, will be, if they are much higher, okay, in this case compared to in this case, then I say that there is a high variability. So essentially, but in this case of circle, what can you infer? In case of circle, okay, what can you infer? What is the kind of variation across the neighborhood? This versus this, case 1 versus case 3. Can one of you convey what kind of variations are there, case 1 versus case 2, case 3? In case 3, as we discussed, there is a variation only in one direction. Okay, and the variation in other direction is less. Okay, what image primitive structure has that kind of variation? Which of the image primitive structures has that kind of the variations? Where there is a high variability in one direction, but there is not much variability in other direction.
UV
An edge.
Edge. Okay, so if I have something like this, okay, so if there is a edge, then I can say that there is a low variability in one direction and high variability in another direction. But in this case, case 1 or case 4, what kind of primitive structure it may be in image? There is some reasonable variability. Assume that the variability is high. Okay, in case 1 in all directions. Okay, in that case, if I consider a point, the variation in all directions is high. So that's essentially a corner point. So I'm looking for what the idea of Harris is that, okay, I don't want to solve for each individual values of u and v and x and y. Okay, we can formulate a mathematical expression and simplify the terms. Okay, so for in terms of uv, okay, and then he did not even construct a polynomial. The elegance of what the Harris has proposed is, he has proposed this function as a like polynomial in uv, but he has separated the terms that are the constant terms, okay, that will bring in that polynomial, and this constant terms becomes a matrix. Now you can see that uv into matrix into uv here is a column vector. If you see, this whole becomes either a circle or a ellipse, and this m is the key matrix which will define the shape of the polynomial. So he directly suggested that you can capture this m, and based on the properties of this matrix m, you can tell whether the given point, is it a corner, is it a edge, or is it a uniform region. What happens to uniform region? Say if it is uniform region, across u and v, if you move, what may happen? Okay, the u comma v will be close to what? In any direction you move for an uniform region, what may happen to u comma v? It is close to 0. Okay, for uniform region, right or not? So the u comma will be close to 0, whereas here u comma v is high. Okay, in all directions. Okay, whereas here u comma v is high in only one direction. Okay, so that's an edge. So that's how we can easily distinguish. And this matrix M can be constituted at any given xy simply by taking the gradients ix and iy. Okay, you just take the gradients at that location. So if you are at a given pixel, okay, just to take ix, iy, x directional gradient and y directional gradient. Based on that, you can construct this matrix. Wxy is a fixed window. Okay, it can be a rectangular window. Okay, that means I am taking a patch here, right? And then I am taking a shifted patch. Between the two, I am trying to find out the difference, variation. Okay, so I want to find out that variation with a modulated window. That window can be a rectangular window or a Gaussian window. So I know the shape of W of x comma y. Fixed and known. Okay, known a priori, in fact. Okay, so that given this, you can easily construct M or matrix M, and then you can easily understand whether the given point at x comma y, is it a corner, is it a uniform region, or is it a edge point. Okay, so this is a high in all directions means implies this is a corner point. Okay, so is this clear or not? Is the discussion clear? And what is the dimensions of this M, matrix M? What are the dimensions of this matrix M?
2 cross 2.
That's all. Okay, so at any given point, you just construct a 2 cross 2 matrix just based on the local gradients. Okay, Ix, Iy. Okay, and then from that you can tell whether it is an edge or a corner point or a uniform region without empirically computing all shifted versions, patch differences. Okay, and this 10 power 7 operations. Okay, instead of 10 power here, we said 10 power 7 or 10 power 8 operations. Instead of that, how many operations you need to do at each pixel? Okay, you need at each pixel you need to do. Okay, simply I think Ix, Iy computation is just of order say 4. Okay, 4 operations, and then 10 power at each pixel you have to compute it. So 10 power 4. So 10 power 8 to 10 power 4 reduction in computations just by an elegant mathematical trick. Okay, and understanding. Okay, is this clear?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, please tell.
Sir, how do we find these gradients?
Yeah, fine. How do you find gradients? Let me answer me. At a given point, I want to find gradient in an image. Okay, how do I find?
Sir, can we use Sobel or?
Correct. You can use any of them. Okay, you can use Sobel, Privet, or any of them. Okay, so if I have pixels, okay, so there will be some intensities, right? Also, also on. Okay, so what I will do at a given point, if I want to find, okay, at this I will put a mask. Okay, this mask can be so if I want to find x directional gradient, this direction, say variation in this direction. So in this direction, variation means 1, 1, 1. Okay, minus 1, minus 1, minus 1. Okay, 0, 0, 0. I can use this. Or simply I can use, okay, 1, 0, minus 1. Oh, any of these things are fine. No, so it's just the design parameter. You can use a little more sophisticated Sobel. Yeah, you got the point, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's all. If you want to find this directional gradient, you can use any of this. So sorry, it gives the variation in yeah, for any in this directional variation it will give. Yeah. Similarly, you can find for this direction as well. Vertical gradients it gives, but you can find out for horizontal gradients as well. Okay. So you can find this gives Iy, for example. Similarly, you can find out Ix. Okay, both of them put together, you will get Ix, Iy, and then you can form the matrix M. Okay, M is simply nothing but okay Ix, Iy, and then Ix, Iy. That's all. Okay, this is the matrix M, but this is being so multiplied with this sigma operation is there, right? So because of this sigma operation and so on, what will happen? This is nothing but a convolution. This will leads to a convolution operation with the weight mask. So initially what we will see the procedure. Initially what we do is we find out Ix matrix. Okay, keep it with us. Okay, similarly find out Iy matrix, keep it with us for a given image. Okay, assume that both are there. Then what I will do? So I will convolve this Ix matrix with the W matrix. What is this W matrix? W is nothing but a Gaussian kernel or whatever. Okay, so Wx comma y is 3 dimension like 5 cross 5 or 3 cross 3 or whatever. Okay, 1 by root 2 pi or 2 pi here. Okay, e power minus half. Okay, x square plus y square by sigma square. Okay, and then this may x comma y may go up to 1 to 5, for example, 5 cross 5 Gaussian kernel I may design or Gaussian weights I may design. So first I will do what? Convolution with Ix, convolution with Iy. I got both of them. Given that, I will be able to find here Wx comma y. Okay, yeah, at a given location x comma y. Okay, and this I will be finally be a 2 cross 2 matrix. Okay, M1, 1, M1, 2, and so on. Okay, and then what I will do with this? I just want to find out, okay, whether this M1 properties of this I want to use to tell whether this is a ellipse, this leads to a ellipse or to a circle and so on, or Okay, the bigger circle, smaller circle, all those things. Okay, the variation in x direction, is it high, low? That I want to quantify. That is the next discussion. Is this clear up to here? Is it clear? Yeah. Okay. So now what? See the that is the beauty of the mathematics and the like researchers who can elegantly use this mathematics. What he said is, even I don't want to solve, even if once I get m, okay, I don't want to analyze, okay, all the elements of m, put then into this expression and then try to see whether it is an ellipse and so on. What I can do is see if this m is a can be considered as a covariance matrix. Okay, so what usually I know, if I have 4 elements in m, or if it is 2 cross 2, then how many eigenvalues of it represent, okay, the variations in respective directions. That means what I can say is, based on the eigenvalues of this matrix, if both eigenvalues are equal, what does it mean? This matrix essentially leads to say 2 or whatever we have seen, right? Here both eigenvalues are equal. In that case, it leads to a circle. Okay, so or you may have actually 4, 0, 0, 1. In this case, what has this eigenvalue is higher, this eigenvalue is smaller. In that case, it leads to an ellipse with a, say, x direction stretch. Okay, so eigenvalues of a matrix. In fact, we are looking at diagonal matrices because it is easy to relate the eigenvalues. For any matrix, the eigenvalues of the matrix will quantify the variation, okay, or the spread of the corresponding polynomial of this arc, okay, in x and y directions. Okay, so is that somewhat intuitive or not?
Sir, can you repeat that once more?
Yeah. So see, assume that I have got a matrix 2 cross 2 matrix. Okay, and this 2 cross 2 matrix has like 2 eigenvalues anyway. So these 2 eigenvalues, if they are equal, what I'm saying is, okay, the essentially what I'm saying is the eigenvalues of a matrix, okay, will represent, along with eigenvalues, you have 2 eigenvectors as well, right? See, assume that you have lambda 1, lambda 2, okay, for a matrix, for m. Similarly, you have 2 eigenvectors E1 and E2 for m. So what essentially these eigenvalues and eigenvectors represent? See, for example, I say that, let me bring in little bit of mathematics to discuss better. Lambda 1 into or m E1 equal to lambda 1 E1. Okay, so what does it mean? So if I apply this matrix operation on this eigenvector E1, what will happen? It is equivalent to what? It is equivalent to, if E1 is this, okay, initially E1 is here. Now I apply a matrix operation or an algebraic operation on this, that is considering as y, which is equal to m into E1. Through eigenvector property or eigenvalues eigenvectors properties, this is equal to y equal to m times, like m lambda 1 times E1. What does it mean? If lambda 1 is higher, okay, high value, maybe 10 for example, okay, then what does it mean? What does it mean?
You're getting a scaled version. And the
Yeah, I'm getting a scaled version. What? So this matrix operation on eigenvector directions is nothing but, okay, the scaling up of operation with the proportional to this lambdas. Yes or no? Okay.
Yes.
So now these lambdas, essentially what they represent is, okay, see, assume that I have a I am at some given x comma y, okay, and at a given x comma y I have a matrix M, fine, and this matrix M has 2 eigenvalues, okay, and now these eigenvalues, what I'm trying to say is, these essentially will give me the spread of the data points in the corresponding directions of eigenvectors. Okay, so here let me complete this discussion, then I will go to the covariance matrix. Probably there it may be more easier to understand. Yeah, somebody has some question? So what I'm trying to say here is lambda 1 equal to 10. Okay, similarly now assume that I will bring lambda 2 also. Okay, lambda 2 is equal to, okay, probably 1 by 5. So what does this mean? Say if I apply an operation m like on m e2, lambda 2 e2. Okay, now I consider this as say y dash. Okay, then y dash essentially will be shrinked version of it. Okay, by 5 times. So essentially what these lambdas are representing, lambda I are representing the scale, okay, scaling on the vectors, okay, by scaling on the vectors, especially in these directions, by the matrix operation m.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, how can we be sure that the two lambdas will not be comparable? How can we be sure that one will be greater than one and the other one will be less than one?
I'm not saying it. They are not necessarily be one will be less and one will be more. Okay, in all scenarios. In fact, they can be equal also. So assume that we have a discussion, right? So in this case, for example, when we have, say, for example, in this case, so what essentially happens if you move in any direction? Okay, the u comma v, for example, okay, is equal to 0. That means if you move in any direction, there is no change in intensity at all. So in this case, so if I get the this matrix M, okay, and then equivalent, what are eigenvalues of this matrix M? Can one of you just guess? Can you guess? They are nothing but 0 and 0. That's all. Because this essentially, if u comma v itself has to be 0, it means that uv are not 0 because shifts I keep changing. Okay, and m has to be 0. In fact, the eigenvalues of this has to be 0. Okay, yes or no? So in this case, they are equal and they are zeros. That this I am saying as uniform region. Okay, in this case now, assume that if you move in any direction, okay, there is some variation. So what I'm saying is in this case, okay, u comma v, okay, is equal to, for all u comma v, I'm just giving a hypothetical example. If for all u comma v, it is equal to 10. Means what? So this matrix M has like eigenvalues, okay, for greater than 0, okay, and lambda, both directions, the lambda 1, lambda 2 has to be equal. That's what I'm saying. That means, see, if I move in any direction, if it has to render 10, it means that there should be some symmetry in this matrix M. What symmetry is that? Okay, the symmetry is that if you move along any of the directions, okay, the value of u comma v is same, indicating that the eigenvalues lambda 1 comma lambda 2, okay, are same. Okay, this comes from this because see, if this is E1 and this is E2, you move in E1 direction or you apply matrix in E1 direction or in E2 direction, the shift that the scaling you get is same. Okay, so moving in this, I am trying to relate it to applying the matrix operation M into X. Okay, so if you are at a position X comma Y, okay, so moving in any direction, I am relating it to the matrix operation of M into X. And M into X, if it is, say, I am not finding out M into X in all directions, I am essentially finding out M into X in directions E1 and E2. And I am saying that if in both directions E1 and E2, the matrix operation leads to same values, it means that the that is the shift, that is the proportional value, okay, in the value of u comma v has. That's what I'm conveying. And that will be, if it is high in all directions, then it is a corner, I'm saying. In this case, for example, okay, in this case, what will happen? If I shift in this direction, okay, u comma v is equal to 0. Okay, u comma v is equal to 0 if I shift in this direction. Okay, whereas if we shift in this direction, okay, if we shift in this direction, what will happen? U comma V is say not 0. So it is, say for example, maybe say 10. In that case, what I'm saying is, so E1, if you consider E1 in this direction, it may be, it is say E1 is the direction and corresponding lambda 1 will be higher than lambda 2. Lambda 2 is corresponding to the eigenvalue E2 and this lambda 2. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is the lambda 1, lambda 2 quantify the shift of matrix M operation at a given X. And that is in, if I specifically consider in E1 and E2 directions. Okay, so I can see that if the shift lambda 1, lambda 2 both are high, it is a corner point. Lambda 1 is higher, but lambda 2 is smaller, it is a edge point. And both are smaller, okay, it is a here lambda 1 is equal to lambda 2 equal to 0. Okay, it is a uniform region. Is this discussion clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. So this actually the operation M here can usually be related to covariance matrix. See, if I have data points, so that's why I'm saying lambda 1, lambda 2 is not necessarily 1 less than 1 and 1 greater than 1. Okay, just I have taken a hypothetical case to show that, okay, in both directions there will be different shifts. In both cases there will be different shifts. Okay, so usually what we can relate to is, see this, if M is a covariance matrix, assume that I have some data points. Okay, so each shift E U comma V, if I consider as a random variable, okay, in fact U comma V is a random variable, 2-dimensional random variable. Okay, assume that, and U comma V is quantification of that random variable or probability density of whatever corresponding proportional T of PDF of, okay, U comma V. Okay, so then this M at given X comma Y essentially gives a 2-dimensional covariance matrix. Okay, so this is in some sense sigma X square, sigma XY, okay, sigma YX or whatever, and sigma Y square. Okay, in this case, you can easily see that the, if say sigma X square is much higher than sigma Y square. Okay, for simplicity, we can take sigma XY equal to sigma YX is equal to 0. Okay, in that case, what will happen? I can say that the variation in X direction is much higher and variation in Y direction is smaller. Okay, so this is the case where lambda 1, 0, 0, lambda 2. Okay, this diagonalized version of this, for example, can be in this form. Okay, I'm just trying to relate the sigma X and sigma Y variation in X and Y directions, okay, with lambda 1 and lambda 2. Okay, so this is under simplifications, but even in spite of without simplification, like considering not considering these assumptions, also this is valid. Okay, except that there will be some changes. For example, if these are not zeros, then you will get some variation like this. Still, the one like lambda 1 being greater than lambda 2, okay, so being much greater than lambda 2 indicates that one direction has a more variation than other direction. Here lambda 1 greater than lambda 2 indicates that this direction, this if I consider E1 and this I consider E2, okay, this direction is lambda 1, the scale up, like the matrix operation if I apply here is scaled by this much, here it is scaled by this much. Okay, so this variation is higher in this direction compared to this direction. In this plane case, only X and Y directions itself I will be able to interpret. Okay, in the non-plane case, in the in the case where sigma XY is not equal to 0, okay, I will get the variations lambda 1, lambda 2 will be along the directions of E1 and E2, which need not be horizontal and vertical. Okay, that's only the difference. That's why people relate to quantify the variations in a given like a covariance matrix. They find out the eigenvalues, okay, and the eigenvectors. Okay, the direction wherein the dominant eigenvector Okay, the eigenvector corresponding to the dominant eigenvalue, higher eigenvalue, okay, shows the higher direction of variation. Probably when we discuss principal component analysis, there is a statistical and like machine learning based dimensionality reduction technique. Okay, then it will be much more clear. For time being, you can consider that, okay, the variations along E1 and E2 will quantify the are quantified by lambda 1 and lambda 2 respectively. Is this discussion clear?
Sorry, sir. But could you please go to the previous slide, sir?
This one or even before?
Before this, sir. Sir, here in the in the drawing sketches, sir. In the third case, we said that the variation along V is greater, but now you're saying that variation along X U is greater, sir. I mean E1.
Okay. See that, as I said, that's why here what we have sketched is locus of points. See in when I mentioned, so if we fix U and V, see in the other case, second case, what we have fixed is U and V. We are taking only U and V fix for -1 to 1. So in that case, the same thing. Okay, let me try to sketch in, because 3 dimensions we can't sketch. Okay, so we skipped it. But if this one, say for the same U and V, okay, so U and V are same, but the thing is the strength of it I am showing by the these dots. Okay, then what will happen? This value, what I'm saying is E, this is the case where I have said E U comma V is equal to say 20 for U equal to 1 and V equal to 0. Okay, and it is equal to 5 for U equal to 0 and V equal to 1. So this is the case I am relating this to. So in this case, there is a high variation in X direction, right? So that's what I'm saying. Is this clear? When I sketched this, locus of points of U, constant U, E U comma V values we have sketched. That's why it is sketched like that. But what I'm trying to say is, when we just look at E U comma V values at constant U comma V, then this is, if this is higher, it means that the variation in X direction is higher.
Right,
is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So any other questions? Okay. So this exact, how do they relate covariance matrix to the variations? Okay, across the data samples or across the random variables. We will see that in the subsequent discussions. But for time being, you understand that this trick is an elegant trick to convert a empirical solution to a mathematical framework, and further using statistical properties of this M. Okay, we can easily tell whether it is a corner or an edge or a uniform region just by looking at the values of lambda 1, lambda 2. But now the next question is, see if it is a corner, what should happen to corner? How do I characterize? Can one of you quickly tell which is a corner point? Given that lambda 1, lambda 2, okay, are given at a given at x comma y. At given x comma y, lambda 1, lambda 2 are computed and given. Okay, based on ix, iy, and so on. Okay, then how do I say which is corner and which is edge and which is uniform region? These are the 3 different possibilities. I need quick answers.
If
Which is a
lambda 1,
corner?
lambda 2 both are high, then it's a corner.
Very good. Lambda 1, lambda 2 both are high. Okay, and edge?
Any one of them is high.
Yeah, any one of them are high. Very good. Lambda 1 or lambda 2 is high. Okay, uniform region?
Both are small.
Yeah, small, close to 0 or small. Okay, so but now the question is, still he worked further. Should I have 2 different things to say whether it's a corner? Can I have a single quantification for it? Okay, so that means, can I have a single expression composing of lambda 1, lambda 2, and then say just by using that expression whether it is an edge or a corner or what, uniform region? So he is able to come up with that. What he said is, see, both has to be high. Then product has to be high or low. Both
High.
are high means product will be high or low.
High.
High. Okay. And then sum. What about sum?
High.
Some will also be high.
Some, yeah, some can be high or okay, will need not be high as product. Right? If the both are high means product will be much higher. Some may be slightly higher. Okay. So, and even in this case, sum is reasonably higher. Okay. Even if one is high, some will be higher. Okay. But the product may not be higher. One is very high, one is very low. Okay. In that case, product will be smaller. So for edge, product is small. Okay. Lambda 1, lambda 2 is small. Okay. Small. And for this lambda 1, lambda 2 is high. Okay. And whereas the sum, if you see, it is high in both sides, but this will be much higher in, okay, there is not much variation. So what he did is he formulated a cost function. Okay, this is called, okay, just a quantification of corner point as lambda 1, lambda 2 minus alpha times, okay, lambda 1 plus lambda 2 whole square. The elegance of this is just if this is higher, if R is high, okay, it is corner. Okay, R is low, it is, in fact, R is negative, edge. Okay, if R is close to 0, it is uniform region. That's all. Fine. What is the importance of this? Now you need not even compute lambda 1 and lambda 2 because at every point to compute lambda 1, lambda 2, you need to solve a matrix, right? So two-dimensional matrix. And then that requires again eigenvalue, finding eigenvalues, eigenvectors is a, okay, eigenvalues is not a easy task. It requires reasonable computations. Whereas this R now can be rewritten in terms of matrix elements directly. How can I rewrite? Lambda 1, lambda 2 is equal to what? Lambda 1, lambda 2 product of eigenvalues is what? Determinant. Okay, matrix M minus alpha times what is lambda 1 plus lambda 2?
Trace.
That's all. So need not do anything. Just take the matrix elements and then you will find out R, and based on it, you tell whether it is an edge, corner, or a uniform region. Okay, that's the great elegance Harris detector has brought in, and it is quite famous. And this is one of the best methods in computer vision. Fine. Anyway, we will stop here. Okay. And then we will continue probably tomorrow's our next class. We will wind up the discussion on feature extraction. Okay. Then we'll move on to again discussion on some of the dimensional reduction techniques like PCA. And then we will subsequently take up neural networks. Okay. So probably now I may increase the pace of giving you more lectures. Okay. Either through direct recordings or classes. So you also accelerate in terms of projects and other aspects so that you will be safe. You can do final exam comfortably again. Okay, thank you then. If there are any questions, you can ask. Otherwise, you can leave. Okay, fine. Thanks then. Bye.